We were training ourselves how to be the biggest, baddest dude that walked around.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't think that feeds into an ego and develops an ego that's out of control, people are wrong.
Welcome to the Vet Rise Podcast. I'm your host, Juan Perez. My goal is to make success after service accessible to every veteran in society. I believe in the power of leveraging your service, not as a label that defines you, but as a launching pad for your next chapter. What we have been doing has not been working, and it's on us to start changing the culture. Enjoy the episode, and thank you for your time.
All right, what's going on, everybody? So welcome to another episode of the Vet Rise Podcast. I'm joined today by a very special guest, someone that has been supporting me on this journey, but also has been doing some pretty amazing stuff on his own. And I've been able to just keep track of his journey. And I want to let him introduce himself. So Bryon, do me a favor, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and let's just roll with it. Sounds good?
Sounds great, man. Thanks, JP. I really appreciate it, man. And he's absolutely right, y'all. JP's out there coaching veterans into a headspace that I was in. I was in a very bad place, y'all. So a little bit about me. I served in the military. I served in the Army for 29 years. I retired as a command sergeant major for an air defense unit. And I don't like to start using retired because that kind of gives me a finish line thing. I want to say I'm a restart. So I'm restarting in life. But been married for 30 years to my wonderful wife. I got 2 girls that are amazing, doing some wonderful things. And when I restarted, when I said that is I own my own business now, and I'm out there helping people save money, make money, and also along the way, changing some mindsets, not only for veterans, but for the civilian population that's out there as well. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I'm pretty sure we're going to dig into it a little bit more as we move through this.
For sure. I have questions. So I would love to know why you don't like to use the word retired, right? Why you like to use restart more, because that aligns with me. I've restarted so many different things. Just to share with you where I'm at, something that we haven't had a chance to catch up on. Yeah. I just left my job of 10 years as a law enforcement officer, and I'm doing this full time. And that hits home because I'm not like retiring from that. Technically, it's a resignation, but I'm not thinking of it that way. I'm thinking about like it's just another opportunity for me to be able to write another chapter in my book, right? Yeah. So just tell us a little bit more about that if you wouldn't mind.
I love that, man. And congratulations, by the way, on
Thank
your
you.
restart. Absolutely. I know there was, we can come in those areas and it's really scary sometimes. And, us as, law enforcement, military, we're all saying, we're not ever scared. But, dude, it's scary. And I'm glad that you are doing that journey and allowing us along the way with you. Proud of you for that, really.
Thank you.
Zig Ziglar kind of got me thinking about this because I am a student, a lifelong learner. And I learn from people that are doing things that I want to do, that are in the great space that I want to be. I don't follow people that are, not where I want to be, not in the mindset. Yeah. But that's where I got that. Correction, it was John Maxwell, actually, that said the finish line. When you hear finish line, you think it's over. We've arrived, right, the finish line. Well, that messes with our minds as individuals because as military, we're normally retiring at a generally young age still, but we're crossing a finish line and it's hard to let that go. So how many times have you seen veterans get a job and it's just to fill the time? Mm-hmm. You heard that?
A lot, so many times.
Yes. They're like, I'm just trying to occupy time. And they're like 30, 40 years old, something like that. They've given up. They've crossed their finish line and they have arrived, but they have so much more, not only to give, but to get, to receive. So why would I want to try and limit myself by say I retired? It's over, right? Retirement age. Oh, we're all thinking that. And Zig Ziglar's one about thinking positively, thinking about the opportunity clock instead of the alarm clock, right? The go light instead of the stop light. We are what we feed ourselves and what we feed our minds. Yeah. So that restart for me has just been going on, and it's just I love that because I'm not just over. It's not done. I'm not through. We still have a lot to do and a lot to go. So that's where I got that restart instead of retirement.
So I want to ask you, before we move on to the question about your time in the service, because I am curious, how long you were in, what branch and all that, because it is important, right? It's a part of who you are. It's not everything. It's not your identity, which I know that we talked about that before, but I want to ask you, actually, before I ask you, the Zig Ziglar line, the reason why I love that you said that, and I don't know if you saw it in me, but I used to listen to Zig Ziglar without even realizing who he was and without even really knowing the impact it was going to have on my life when I was like 5 to 10 years old, because it's all my parents listened to. They were in one of those groups for self-improvement because they're entrepreneurs. My parents own their own business and they're absolutely amazing people, and they listen to these episodes. So shout out to my mom and dad. I love you guys. And they would play these things without even realizing the impact that it would have on their son, the lessons that I was learning without even realizing it. Instead of just listening to noise or distraction or something that tickles your brain, they were working on themselves. They were doing their business thing. So I love that you mentioned that, and thank you for that. That means a lot to me.
Absolutely.
So now I want to ask you, so I'm assuming, I don't want to assume, but would you share with us kind of a little bit of your military experience and where it led you, like right after, and then we'll kind of go into what that has led you into now.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And I think I started my military career like most people do, not knowing what to do next. Yeah. Right? I don't know what I'm going to do next. I have a lineage. My brother was in the Air Force. My dad was in the Army. My grandfather was in the Army. Uncle's in the Navy. So lineage of it was there. Just not knowing what to do next really drove me into the Army. And when I got into the Army, it just didn't seem my fit right off the bat, which is funny. I tell you this story with my dad really quick. I called him. I was like 3 years in the Army, and I told my dad, I said, I'm done. I'm in Germany. I'm sick of this. And he's like, well, why are you getting out? I said, well, I'm done working for stupid people. I honestly told him that. And you can probably relate to that. And so did he, though. He said, well, me too, Bryon. I'm done. Everywhere I work for dumb people too. And I was like, but Dad, you get to quit. You can go find another job. And then he said, but you can only do that so many times before people quit hiring you. And I was like, wow, okay, I can see that. And he said, Bryon, all you got to do is, the Army's easy. Just do what you're told to do, right? And execute it. Do it the best of your ability.
Talk about that a little bit. Sorry. I love that concept. Man, you're coming in hot.
Right? It's like, just do it, man. So with that being said, I'm like, all right, fantastic. Let's move forward. Then I was sold. All right. That's where people that stay in the military stay for as long as they do in retirements is they're sold on the concept. They're all in. Now, I was raised like most people are, get a good education, to get a good job, to retire. And so as my time through the military, I just did what I was told. And it seemed like I was always behind the power curve, right? Promotion comes up. I missed it by maybe a year or two. I didn't make the list until a year or two.
It never made sense.
Right. I don't understand.
To somebody it does, but it never did when you were the one that was missing it. I resonate. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. But my wife made a good point too. She's like, what are you learning now that you can use later? And I tell you, when I got to Command Sergeant Major, I was late in getting Command Sergeant Major too. I didn't even expect to make it.
So you did the full 20. When I got
selected, I was like, fantastic. But when I'm there, I was older than most sergeant majors around me, and I had experienced more than they had. Right? I was in the TRADOC headquarters working for TRADOC G357. I also went to the chief's office, the chief of staff of the Army, General Odinero. I worked in his office too, and I got to see other colors of money. I didn't even know what that meant, but it opened my aperture up, and I felt a more seasoned sergeant major. Not just because I was older, but I understood something more than air defense, because that's what I was, air defense. I understood the big Army and how it operated. I understood leadership by walking around instead of sitting in my office and doing text messages and emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I learned it before I got to be a command sergeant major. So it was easier for me to just kind of adapt and move into that thing. And that's kind of where I finished out with that.
That's awesome. So I love what you said about the fact that it sounds like your wife kind of gave you the change of perspective of realizing, like, what are you learning now that you can use in the future? Because I'll tell you what, when I was freaking 19, 20 years old, I wasn't thinking about what am I learning right now that I'll be able to use in 5, 10 years from now. I was thinking about when is Liberty, or what school will I be going to next here? You know, what can I do to get to the Scout Sniper platoon, get to the INDOC, make it to school, make it through school, literally in the moment. And I think you kind of have to kind of think that way a little bit and be present, but also the fact that you had that perspective shift and you were able to start thinking about, like, what am I learning right now?
Yeah.
To be able to use it after this. Because I think when you have that switch of perspective, I think it also, not only does it open up your mind to pay attention to what you're learning that will benefit you, but I think it also maybe even opens up your mind to seeing, like, what are the things that I am catching here just by proximity,
right?
That may negatively affect me in the future, that may negatively, like, create this ego or create this person that feels entitled, or maybe, like, I've even, and I'll share this with you, I've learned very fast and very quick that I 1000% believed, Bryon, that I was a great leader. Yeah. And I am. However, for the past 2 years, I've been working on building a team, and now I'm actually officially an employee for my own business, because I haven't been like doing like, don't get me wrong, I started this baby.
Right.
But I have a team of people that have been doing stuff in the background, and now that I'm, like, here, I'm learning that I have to change my leadership style. I cannot be the knife-handing Marine. I can't expect things to be done a certain way. I have to make sure that I change my leadership style. People, and honestly, like, I think this is a controversial thing where people will be like, well, if you hold a standard and, you know, you tell people what you want them to do, and you're direct, that word, direct, then they will do it, right? But I also think that if you want to be a good leader, you have to understand that there's different management styles, and people like different things. And I've done a deep dive on watching a lot of different videos. I've been looking at different styles. I've been learning that there are people who thrive on creativity. There are people who need a little more direction. There are people who just need, you can give someone vague instructions if they are a high performer and they will know how to do it, but you can't apply that with everyone on the team across the board. Right. So, like, that's something that I didn't realize until recently. And I've been reflecting on it a lot lately, but yeah, I would love to hear kind of like what you knew you were going to take away that helped you, and maybe some of the stuff that you started paying attention to a little bit more that you had to leave behind after you left the military.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll resonate with you said. We were worried about the next class, next school. Mm-hmm. We were training ourselves how to be the biggest, baddest dude that walked around.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't think that feeds into an ego and develops an ego that's out of control, people are wrong. You know, I read a book, and it talked about On Killing Mind is the name of it.
Okay.
And it's talking about breaking the middle mind. And the middle mind, that's what the military does. The middle mind keeps us from going out and just wiping people off the face of the earth. You know, we're not developed. We're not made to go kill people. That's not how people are made.
Right.
Unless you're in the military. We break that. We make that.
Isn't that interesting?
Want Superman. We want to walk out into the battlefield and eliminate everything out there. Mm-hmm. And I have to make people and design people to do that. But we don't do a good job at all putting them back into the world because it's broken, right? And people are like, I'm not broken. No, we've broken through a barrier in our mind, and we have to be able to coach, mentor, be with, empathize with, relate with those people coming back. right? And I think society as a whole needs to do that, not just us service members, because you and I, we could sit here and we can talk about it all day, and we could change our mindsets, and we could talk about how we've grown, and that's amazing. Don't get me wrong. We need that.
Yeah.
But society needs to understand that too. See, there's people out there that don't know veterans. I almost had a heart attack. I was like, what do you mean you don't know a veteran? They don't know somebody that served in the military. And I think we lose sight of that because we're in it. It's our world.
Yeah.
So to understand that and to be able to articulate in a non-hostile, non-directive mentality of who we are, I think that's part of leadership that we need to learn. We need to coach, like you're coaching people to do that stuff. And fantastic, by the way, the way you're doing it. That's fantastic. Because we need that. We need to understand is that ego needs to be put in check. It's okay to have that. Those are the things that those assets you're asking that if I took away with. Yes, I need to have that ability to move forward without the directions, right? The absence of orders, what do? Attack, right? We attack. But we have to attack in a way that the world can understand that. Now, I'm not saying change. I'm saying develop, adapt, right? We talked about that. Adapt.
Yeah.
I can tell you I've self-developed more outside the military than I had the entire time in the military.
Yeah.
I hate reading books, but I'm devouring them on audiobook. And if it's really good, I'll buy it and an audiobook with it so I can mark it up.
Same here.
And I think that's the Zig Ziglars, the John Maxwells, the Les Browns. I am chewing those guys up. I listen to them at least 30 minutes a day. I have set that aside. 30 minutes a day on self-development, whether it's reading or listening to a podcast or going to a seminar. I went to a Dale Carnegie training the other couple weekends ago.
Oh, I love Dale.
Man, fantastic organization that feeds into what we're doing. And it takes
book,
us into that, man. I'm telling it. It takes a soldier and moves it, or a Marine or airman or whatever, and moves them into, you use those assets every day. You just don't know you're using them.
Yeah.
And it honed it in. So now all of those things that I did in the military, I still do, but I'm doing it where people like me and I like them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That resonate?
That makes sense.
Bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's stop for a minute. This is the part of the episode where I ask you to do me a favor. But it's not a favor for me. It's a favor for your fellow brothers and sisters that served with you. If you know someone that has been struggling, if you know someone that has been going through it right now, and you know that they want better for their life, they just don't know how to do it, please share this episode with them. It might just be exactly what they need. That's it. That's my only ask. If you want to subscribe, I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Back to the episode.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends, Influence People. It's my dad gave me a copy when I was young, and I read it, and I actually used some of it in the military, and I realized it applies everywhere in life, right? Yeah. It's just it's about how receptive is the environment that you're around, and when you're in the military, like, it's a little bit harder. The environment is different.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's a book that I recommend to everyone as well, because I do believe that everything in life is about influence. It's about how can you help, how can you change, and it all comes back to intention, right? But it's not manipulation. It's just about, like, you want to change the world to be a better place, and if you can hold the mirror up to people and help people start reflecting on, like, who they are and who they want to be, and developing. Like, I love that word. I don't think I've ever phrased it that way, so I love that. I might use that.
Yeah,
but I like that. Like, it's not changing. It's developing. That's awesome. So I want to ask you. There were so many things you said that I had questions about. Let me see if I can parse them together here. But one of the questions that came up for me is, as someone that was in the military for a very long time, right? Like, you got to a point where you were in charge of large units, and how do you get to the point from when you leave the military and start realizing that you still need to self-develop? Was it a challenge, like admitting to yourself that you need time to develop instead of just coming out into the world and be like, hey, I'm here, like, I'm ready to freaking do this because I've been doing this So therefore, I can do any of this.
Yeah.
Right? Was there some sort of realization? Did something happen of like, damn, I need to start developing more?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't obvious to me at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
One, I was that typical veterans, like, I hate everybody. I'm staying in my house. I don't care. Now, mind you, I had already started a business. I retired in 2019, and I restarted in 2019 with another business, 2 other businesses.
Okay.
And I really just didn't want to do anything. I expected people to, flock to me. I was a command sergeant major. I have all these credentials. I'm a leader. But I also was drinking myself into oblivion. I was watching YouTube or TV like I was going out of style. I was eating chips. I went to 214 pounds. I'm only 5'8" or 5'9", man. So it wasn't very good. I can't run very well because I blew my knee out like 5 times. I had 5 knee surgeries on my right knee, so that was kind of out of it. But that schedule was out of my mind, right? For 29 years, I had a schedule, and I held myself accountable.
Yeah.
And I didn't just myself. My soldiers held me accountable. If I told them to be at PT, as the leader I was, I'm going to be at PT.
Yeah.
And I went to other units, and I did PT with other units, and I would run with my first sergeants, and they hated me for that stuff. But I was present, right? I wasn't that fat sergeant major sitting behind the desk drinking coffee saying, go run PT. I was out doing that stuff. So when I got out and I didn't have that structure any longer, I allowed that to just be my excuse, right? I was doing something for 29 years. I'd wake up at this time. I do PT at this time. I go to work at this time. Who says I can't do that still? But see, I'm doing the wrong things. I was drinking. I was poor, pitiful me, and I was in a very dark place. The last 8 years of my career in the Army, I was what you call a geographical bachelor, which my family was living in Texas, and I was living somewhere else. I went to D.C. for a while, and then I went to Fort Bliss for a while, and then I finished up in Fort Sill. All of that time, my family being at home. So I'm coming back. I'm leaving a career that I've known for my adult life, 29 years.
Yeah.
No structure, into a business, 2 businesses I knew nothing about, and trying to put a family together. Brother, I was in a dark place, and none of it was working. And it wasn't until a friend of mine, so I was stationed with this guy when I was a private. We were first sergeants together. We were drill sergeants together. He retired as a first sergeant. I kept going, but he lives down the road from me. And our families, as you could tell, are probably connected, and we were. So his wife is like, you need to get out of the house. So I started volunteering at the USO where she used to work. And then she's like, hey, come over to the Rotary Club. Didn't even know what a Rotary Club was. Started interacting with some people, and most of the people in there are veterans. So, hey, life is after being a veteran.
Yeah.
Became a Chamber of Commerce member. All of this stuff to realize it wasn't people I didn't like. It was me. I didn't like me. For the things I had done, for the places I've been, for where I was currently. Why aren't I doing better? I suck. And it goes back to that Zig Ziglar is we are who we say we are.
Yeah.
Right? That stuff I'm putting in my mind. I just posted on LinkedIn saying, we can change who we are and where we are by what we put in our mind. And if I'm just putting in negative and drinking and smoking and crap and nobody's going to love me, then why am I going to love myself? That's who I'm going to be. So I quit drinking by the grace of God. I quit smoking. I'm going out. I'm connecting with people. I'm networking and finding out that people are pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
If you give them the opportunity and you learn their stories, they've gone through some crap too, even civilians.
Yeah.
We've just got to be open enough to accept that there's somebody else on this planet other than us, the ego that we get out on.
Yeah. I think that it is self-responsibility. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the fact that, like, whether you're an NCO, E4, E7, whatever, E9, and you get out, I think there's this honeymoon phase where, like, you feel free. And I think the word free, in reality, it's more like you're a little bit out in the wild.
Yeah.
So it's like you think that you were in this cage and now you've been let loose and you have freedom, but in reality, now you've lost the structure of the meal plan, the accountability that, like, no matter what, it's going to happen. PT will be had, right?
Yeah, right.
Meetings will be done. Things will happen. I mean, you, like you said, you were away from your family for such a long time that I'm actually curious about that, and I'll follow up with that here in a minute. But
yeah,
like, we lose all of that, and we think, well, like, I've done it before, I can do it now. And then before you know it, we push so far away from any structure, because the structure, even though it wasn't imposed on us, we made the decision to join. We knew what to expect for the most part. Now you feel like, well, I don't want to impose any of that on me. I don't have to be anywhere at a certain time. I don't have to PT. I don't have to eat a certain way. I don't have to do these things. I don't have to do a PFT anymore. Right? We kind of just let ourselves go without realizing that those are the things that were helping us. Right? So I agree with you. I think that when you realize that it is all our doing, the things that were positive, as well as the things that maybe we stopped doing that were actually positive for us, we have to just find a way to put them back into our lives on our terms, right? Yeah. So I'm also curious. So living away from your family for such a long time, were there other challenges with coming home and like being a part of a family compared to like running a unit, compared to like, you know, the difference in there? Was that difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a story popped into my head real quick. When I was a drill sergeant, I came home. You talked about running a unit. I tried to run a unit, my home, the same way as my unit. And I walked in. How'd that work out? My kids were younger. And of course, crazy, running all over the place. And I walked in and I was still in my uniform, had my drill sergeant hat and my camp pant on. I walked in and I went, "Howdies." And my wife said, "Get out." she's like, "Get out now." And I turned around, and for a minute, I just froze because I was like, dude, yeah, this is not right. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I always changed my uniform before I came home to kind of decompress and realize mental switch.
That's a really good story for a few reasons.
Yeah.
Because imagine if she hadn't said anything and it would have just kept happening, and maybe you would have been like, well, nothing's wrong with this. And then you keep imposing. Because a lot of people will do that. A lot of people will tell you, like, you just have to, and we won't get into child raising here, but a lot of people will tell you that, like, well, you got to set a standard. You have to treat your kids this way. But we forget they are children. So they don't know what they don't know, and they will learn by what they see. Yeah. So I think that's a great story, because I think that it was one of those like realizations, one of those moments of like, damn, this isn't right. But imagine if it didn't, right? Like, who knows? Yeah. What might have happened. So I'm happy that you shared that. I'm happy that she said something.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And that's funny is because we raise our kids how we were raised.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe you weren't raised too well.
Yeah.
Maybe my father was an alcoholic, and guess what? I was an alcoholic. Now there's two people that can come out of that. One guy can say that I'm alcoholic and I'm going down this road because my dad's an alcoholic. What do you expect? Mm. Or you could say I'm a very successful man and I'm going after it and I'm getting better. I'm taking care of my family because my dad was an alcoholic. It all depends on which way you want to go. It's all your choice. It's a choice. You've said it on many occasions. It's our choice how we want to go. Mm-hmm. And if you can't blame something on your behavior, it's you that make the choice to behave that way.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want my kids raised like I was. I failed for a very long time. But the great thing is there was a finish line. And I said, for that one, I'm glad I'm finished. There is no more drinking. And I moved past that. And I can be an example for my kids now of how it looks both ways. And then actually talk to them through that stuff. But most families, we're not taught. There's not a class on how to be a father. There's not a class on how to be a husband or a wife or anything like that. There's no classes in that. We learn from our experiences.
Yeah.
And we can either choose to exist the same way we have been, in an abusive family, a drunken family, a whatever family, or you can choose to say, I've had enough. And I choose to be in this family and make it work, or I choose not to be in this family and make it work. Whatever it is. And I'm grateful that I'm choosing to make it work. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, will you use, and this applies to everything really, because I mean, you can insert X here. Will you use this to be the excuse of why you can't, or will you use this to be the reason why you will succeed no matter what? And it really is.
Absolutely.
Like it does boil down to that. Some people think, well, it's not that simple. But the thing is, like, it is a decision. It is a decision. And when you make the decision, then you can start doing other stuff.
Right.
Then you can start taking ownership over it. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. So, can you talk to me a little bit more?
You asked about transitioning back into the family, and I went another direction. I'm sorry.
No, it answered it, because it was exactly what kind of we were talking about. So, you definitely talked on that.
Good.
So I'd love to know kind of like where you're at right now. What are you doing? What do you want to share with all the listeners that are listening? Where can they get more from you? We're not done, but I want to just kind of figure out like what's happening with you right now.
Right.
What's taking up your time? What is the thing that you're excited about right now?
Fantastic. Great question. Thank you for that. And I tell you, I had mentioned I was in two businesses when I got out of the military, and one was called Veteran Solutions for Life. Great business organization. Don't get me wrong. It just wasn't filling where I needed to go. And one thing that I learned is I need to get focused. In the military, I had all these different things going on. And it's only a short period of time that you're a command sergeant major, that you're a first sergeant, that you're a platoon sergeant, whatever the case is. And you try to accomplish so much in that little bit of time that when I got out, I tried to continue to do the same thing. I became this. I was going here. And it was really, I was so busy that I was like, dang, I'm in the Army again, And so I needed to refocus, believe in what they do. Great people got me into it, some past sergeant majors and stuff as well. So they're doing great things. I loved them, but I had to step away from that to focus on this other career, other business I'm doing on. And only because being so scatterbrained, it wasn't paying off on either side.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. There was a whole lot of stuff going on, but nothing coming back. So with this other business that I do, I'm an independent business owner with a company called ACN, and they're helping people save money, possibly save money on essential services for like cell phone services and things like this. And I don't want to sound all salesy and stuff, but that's what we're
people
doing.
Want to hear about it. Like this whole thing is like, so think of it this way, if I may.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, myself included, like, I don't want to sound salesy, but the thing is, like, people are listening because they want to know what's working for other people. People are paying attention. People are right here listening to maybe you're driving right now. Maybe you're working out, whatever it is. They're making the decision to listen because they want to know what's working for other people.
Right.
So I would love to hear it, like, from your perspective of like what's working for you, what you're doing, and like why you enjoy it and why other people should be interested in it. Because at the end of the day, if it's working for you, maybe it'll help somebody else. Right.
I like that. And thank you for kind of ad-libbing with that a little bit more so I can understand, because the one thing I don't want to do is tell people something that they think they have to do. This, it's getting away from that Army stuff, right? You do this and you'll do great. But for me, the military took a lot of time away from my family. And that, deployments, long work hours, all those great things. The family had to put their life on hold at times. Like vacations go in, I can't go, so they either reschedule or go on their own. They're making memories without me. Especially in that last 8 years, they became a family without me. So I missed out on a lot of stuff, and I was sick of that. And as you probably know, in the military, it doesn't matter if you put 2 hours in or 22 hours in, you're only getting paid so much. It don't matter. You're only getting paid so much. So the amount of effort you're putting into it is great, because that's your drive. That builds your work ethic and all those things. But there's no compensation with that amount of work. And I couldn't do that anymore. And people are like, hey, you're a sergeant major, you're going to walk out, 6-figure job, no problem. But I know what it took. It took away from my family. It took me away from my family. So when I saw this opportunity to look at this business, it was already set up, right? They had things in place. I didn't have to go create a website. I don't have to go worry about marketing. I don't have to worry about tracking and admin. All that stuff is set up. I just got to go into it and find people that want a good service on either a cell phone service, energy, healthcare, whatever that is that we use. And then also helping people to do the same thing. Let me walk with you through this journey. Because when we joined the military, a job, whatever, we're not the CEO. We're not the CSM. We have to work our way through it.
Yeah.
And there's people on our side to walk us through that. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's like,
the
you
framework.
want to join hands. Let's join hands. Not, hey, sign up, good job, see you later. No, let's join up and go to the top together.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So that's what I'm doing now. And took a lot of coaching from another buddy of mine to get me through just me, getting out of my way, to getting out of the couch, to getting off of the food, to getting out of the alcohol, moving forward and doing what I'm made for, right?
Yeah.
I'm made for something better. I'm made to help other people. That's why I'm here. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm just going forth and just killing it the way I was in the Army, just nicer now.
I like that. So my thoughts. I really believe, so like, if any of you have been watching my videos, and if you haven't, you should. I speak a certain way because it's a message for me. At the end of the day, it's what I needed to hear. A lot of what I post is a self-reminder. The days that I have the hardest time with doing the things that I have to do, that will be the message of the day. And I do this because I really believe that we are capable, and I think that success can come in many different shapes and forms. Yeah. And as a veteran, when you get out, there's no rules to what you have to do. So I think that what you're doing, the fact that you're taking the skills that you've learned and you're applying it to, a different venture, a different business, a different kind of, just way of living. I think a lot of veterans don't do that enough. They think that they have to work in a specific job field. I went into law enforcement because it's what I thought I had to do. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Great 10 years of my life. But now I'm doing my own thing because I know that I can apply the things I've learned, not just in the military, but from the past 10 years to anything. I'll tell you right now, the mindset that I have is that if my business imploded tomorrow, I could start a cleaning business and apply the same principles and launch that, take that off the ground, right? It doesn't matter. It's about taking what you know, developing, like you said, and then just applying, not just taking that information, but applying it, right? So I think that's awesome what you're doing and what you're telling us and what you're sharing, because, you do not have to go into a certain job just because of the MOS that you had or the branch that you were in. Everything really is limitless. I truly believe that, right?
That's a very awesome point you made, because through my time through Veteran Solutions for Life, we help transitioning service members get out and be more prepared. And I did a podcast too. You were on it actually, and we had some great times with Mind the Gap. But we talk about that same thing. There's people that just, as an air defender, right? There's no air defense jobs out here, in the civilian sector. Unless I'm going to be a mercenary or something. That ain't happening. They have military civilian jobs where you go and you're back in the military basically, and I don't want to do that. Didn't want to do that. But we sell ourselves so short, right? Because of that mentality. Again, we've grown through this our whole lives, so that's all we know.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that's all you are. Right? You've gotten so much work ethic, so much determination, so much attention to detail, so much drive, so much discipline. All of these things that the outside world wants so bad, we do falling out of bed, right? And I think we sell ourselves so short. Infantry guys don't have to go be security guards. They don't have to be officers. They don't. Take your skill set, your soft skills. That's the soft skills we're talking about. You go in there, you look somebody in the eye, you shake their hand like you're going to snap it off almost, right? Glad to meet you, man. My name is Bryon Mulligan.
Yes.
I'm here to make you successful. We do that already. Why can't we do that in any industry? And a lot of those people I talked to on the podcast started their own jobs because they started at work and they've gone through 6 jobs already because they're looking for a certain culture. Well, go do your own job. Go open your own business. Be your own culture.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is remember those things. And I tell you what, my daily method of operation is almost military now. I wake up at a certain time. I help the wife get out the door when she goes to work. I start doing my devotionals and reading the Bible, and then I do my prayers. I go work out. There is a method. I still write it down so I can go out and execute it. And I set goals so I can make sure that I have goals attended throughout the day instead of wandering around throughout my day wondering, poor, pitiful me. No.
Yes.
Let me go find some stuff to do. Let me go work towards my goal today.
Yeah.
As I be positive every day. That's what my goals are doing.
Mm-hmm. So I think that we forget that there was, like you said, a method of operations in the military.
Yeah.
And when I say like you have to leave the military where it is, right? I don't mean that like you got to stop everything that's military minded, but it's more of like stop using acronyms and confusing people when they don't understand them. Stop feeling like you're better than people because you're using military time. But like keep the good stuff.
Yeah.
The operations, the fact that like maybe you were an NCO and you were in charge of this unit that had to coordinate with a commander or a command sergeant major, and like talk about developing confidence. Like if you have to do that as an E4 speaking to an E9 or an O4, like a major, like you need to develop confidence. And maybe you don't feel like you have it, but guess what? Doing the thing is doing the thing. You will have confidence. Yeah. And I think that mentality applies everywhere. So yeah.
And I think being open-minded. Open-minded is critical because when we come out, we think, again, this is the career field I have to stay in. And if somebody comes by and tells me something different, nope. They say that most millionaires have 7 different avenues of income coming in. That means that's 7 different things coming. Now, you don't want to go do 7 jobs. Don't do that. Please, God, don't do that. If you have more than 2, call me. And we'll talk about it and we'll help you with that. But, maybe you go write a book about your time in the military or, a short story. You can sell those too. Or you go make some curriculum of, mindset. I did a whole live on 30 days for mindset, shifting, cultivating a growth mindset in 30 days. Each day I went live on Facebook to just cultivate. That's stuff that I've learned and executed. I mean, I have people jumping on with that. There's so many things you can do. Don't limit yourself. You have the power. You just have to choose. You have to be open to go out there. So make sure you just don't sell yourself short, man.
I have one question for you that I think is the burning question that I wanted to ask.
Yes, sir.
I get a lot of people that listen to the podcast or listen to my videos, and most of them are around my age or a little bit younger, a little bit older. A lot of people that are not even out yet, and they reach out. But the one thing that I've noticed, and it's been very, very interesting, is that the guys that did 20 plus years and they start listening to the videos, and like at first they completely disagree with them. It doesn't vibe with them. And then I've had a lot of them change their tune and be like, I've never thought of it this way. What would you say, what would be your piece of advice to someone who did 20 plus years compared to those that just did the 4 and out or the 8 and out, right? What would be the piece of advice for someone that is maybe they're about to get out, maybe they just got out, retired, 20 plus years, and coming into society? Like, what do you think would have been the piece of advice that really would have helped you when you got out?
That is a great question. And I don't know if there's any one particular thing you can say. Mainly is just be open, and I think that's the biggest thing. I stepped out of the military thinking that the world revolved around me because I was a command sergeant major. And guess what? You're just Bryon. I'm just Bryon. Yeah. And that's good enough. Matter of fact, that's even better because no matter where I go, I'm there. And if you notice where you go, people walk away from you, you might want to change who you are.
Yeah.
Because that's who I was. Yeah. Everywhere I went, a relationship, they either like talked to me for a little bit or wouldn't answer my calls or they walk away. And I realized that I was kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
I talked like I was God's gift to woman or men or the planet or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm just a guy that's having a little bit of success, that's having fun, that enjoys life now.
You can make a bigger impact that way compared to the other mindset.
Yes, because if you just stay fixed, it goes in that fixed mindset, growth mindset. A fixed mindset is what it is, right? It'll never change. I am where I am because of who I am. No, dude, go find something else to do. I mean, I take photography on the side. I go do photography on the side because it gets me away. It's something I enjoy doing. I have fun taking pictures and videos and stuff. Go have fun, go talk to people and have fun doing life instead of just like, you know who I am? I don't care if you're a retired sergeant major anymore. I don't care. Just go have fun, be a joy, and help somebody else.
That right there. We're gonna end on that because I really feel like that is honestly the best piece of advice for anyone Like, be you. Yeah. It's better than being something that you're not anymore. Like, you got out, whether you retired or you did your 4 and out, like, you got out. You're not in anymore, right? So, like, you have to develop, like you said.
Yeah.
So, Bryon, where can people find you? Where can they hear more about you? Where can they reach out to you? I'm sure people are going to want to know more about you. So what would be a great place for people to be able to find you on socials or wherever you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get into that, can I say one more thing here?
Please, anything, yeah.
So I don't want to discredit your time in the military. And I know JP never wants to do that either. We served. We did what most people don't even do. 1%, less than 1% of America serves. So first, let me say thank you for your service. If you're in the military, law enforcement, whatever, thank you for taking and stepping in the gap when nobody else would. That's an amazing feat in itself. But we don't want you to stay stuck. Because if you're just saying, when you introduce, I'm retired, command, no, just be you. Have fun with it now. This is your restart, not your retirement, your restart. So thanks for let me say that.
I love it. That was amazing.
You can find me anywhere. My name's spelled kind of differently than most people that have the name Bryon, Bryon, but I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to jump in and say, hey, that'd be great. I'd love to talk with anybody and everybody. Again, I'm just here to help people achieve their goals. And if you don't know what that goal is, let me help you probably figure out a goal and a purpose, and we'll move forward with that. So, that's about it, man.
Beautiful. I know we're going to have you back on if you wouldn't mind, just because I know that people are going to want to hear more about this. Like, you have a perspective that I think a lot of people need to hear. And I think that when it's delivered in the way that you delivered it, which was beautiful, I think that it resonates. It resonates in a lot of different ways.
I appreciate it.
Which is beautiful because, like, I keep saying that because it really is. Like, life ain't bad. It's just what we make of it.
Absolutely.
So again, Bryon, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate coming on the podcast. We would love to definitely have you back on, and keep doing the thing, man. Keep inspiring, keep changing lives, keep freaking sharing with everyone, because you just don't know who you might inspire. I mean, I definitely love watching your videos, so I appreciate you very much. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, JP. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor, brother. You take care.
Awesome. You too.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Vet Rise podcast. If today's episode inspired you, made you think, or simply gave you hope, I have a small favor to ask. Share it with just one veteran or someone you think could benefit from my message. Your share could light a spark for them. You don't know who you might save. For more insights and to join our mission, follow my socials at JP the Veteran Coach and explore how we can rise together. Thank you for joining us, for being part of this journey, and for believing in the power of rising together. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep rising, and never forget that we are stronger together. My name is Juan Perez, and thank you for your time.